Welcome to this Q1 report interview with Carbiotix and CEO Kristofer Cook. Hello, Kristofer.
Hello, Matthias. Pleasure to be with you.
Good to have you. Yesterday, you released your Q1 report, and at the same time, you also communicated that you're performing a shared issue aiming to attract 12 million Swedish kronas, and we will get back to that shortly. But first off, the numbers of Q1. Net sales amounted to 365,000 Swedish kronas compared to 20,000 in the first quarter 2022. What does this growth relate to?
Well, this is fundamentally based on traction in connection with the Link-Gut service, and that's primarily from bulk shipments to our customers or partners. So I'm happy to see it's a small step forward, certainly, but it demonstrates that our partners are generating sales.
Yeah, and your net result was minus 2.9 million Swedish kronas compared to 2.6 in Q1 2022. Was this in line with your expectations?
Yeah, this is also in line with our expectations. We have a natural ramp up in connection with Carbiotix and as well as the development activities that I've communicated earlier as well. So that's certainly the case in terms of increased costs. It's probably important to point out as well from a cash perspective, we'll be bringing back about 1.2 million, which was a cash outlay in connection with CapEx that will integrate into a leasing agreement in Q2.
Yeah, we'll leave the numbers for now and move on to Link-Gut. What is the latest updates?
Well, Link-Gut is a service we're continually evolving over time. Today, it's easily the most cost-effective, reliable, and flexible white label gut health test in the world today. And we're seeing an increase of interest in the service. Definitely when we go out with quarterly newsletters, we're seeing a lot of companies interested in the service. And we're also seeing interest from the research and clinical side as well, which could potentially 10x the potential market of this particular service. So that's quite encouraging news.
Yeah, I can see why. What does your partners, Canadian Enjoy, Majora from Switzerland and Swedish Sambiome contribute with?
Well, we call them partners, but they're really customers. And the reason we call them partners is because we're continually evolving the service and getting input from them and developing the service. But they're the companies that are buying, the kits from us and providing the service for their particular customers. In the case of Enjoy, an example of a company working with gastrointestinal issues more on the medical side, which is great to have them as a partner, and it sets an example for other similar companies. Majora is a company working with prebiotics, so that's an example of a company that has a product and they want to validate the efficacy of that product, which is great. And in the case of Sambiome, that's a company that actually switched service providers, which demonstrates that if someone's already built up a service and made those investments, that they can definitely switch to a lower cost, more reliable service provider. And they're working more in the health spectrum. So we're definitely going to promote all three as interesting case studies going forward. But they are customers. We call them partners, but they're customers.
All right, and a great variation between them too. During the quarter, you also developed the production process for Carbiotix. What does this mean in terms of productivity and production cost?
Well, as I communicated, it's fundamentally a game changer for us. We said that we double the output, but this is on an at-least basis. We think that the opportunities go well beyond a doubling of production output. So it's certainly very exciting for us.
Yeah, are there any other gains in this process?
Yeah, as communicated, definitely less chemicals, which means the product is safer, which certainly should help in the reg process. Less energy usage as well, and probably from a regulatory standpoint, which is fundamentally been sort of a limiting factor or adherence for us, was the inclusion of enzyme. And in this case, the process is enzyme independent. So we can use the enzyme if we want to produce more product, but we're not enzyme dependent, which actually is great for us to remove that dependency on a third party.
Okay, thank you. And what is the status on the GRAS improvement?
Yeah, the GRAS process, obviously because we have a new process now, the second generation process, a lot had to be redone and is being redone, both in terms of collecting the samples and getting everything prepared with the dossier and getting that submitted. But the good thing about the process, it is a safer process, so hopefully that process can be expedited. But I can say from the GRAS perspective or the regulatory perspective overall, what we're doing is actually, and we'll be coming out quite soon in Q2 with a more comprehensive product and regulatory plan. And there we're not only looking at the corn fiber as a substrate, we'll be looking at probably 3 different substrates across 2 different product groups, so both nutraceuticals and cosmetics, and we'll provide a plan where we delineate timeframes in terms of obviously getting the regs in place and the launching of those products to market as well. So the second generation process has allowed us to become much more ambitious in terms of our regs and much more confident as well. And it's probably important to point out as well that the cosmetic market is not a small market by any means, and there seems to be a lot of hang up on GRAS, which really is a way for us to demonstrate to regulators if they ask us about the safety of the product that we can provide the dossier. So we can launch the product now without GRAS, but obviously some customers require it, and obviously regulators would require that dossier to be in place if they ask us as well. But the cosmetic market is definitely as interesting, and it's a self-affirmation process, which makes it, from a timing perspective, quite attainable in the short term.
Mm-hmm. You also, in the CEO note, you mentioned the cooperation with Aventure. Could you elaborate a bit on that?
Yeah, Aventure is a company that's co-founded by Rickard Öster, who was one of the co-founders of Oatly, which is a NASDAQ-listed company producing oat milk. And it's certainly a substrate that we're interested in terms of deriving Carbiotix from oats itself. This agreement actually serves as a template for how we'll be working with other companies as well. If you go onto our webpage now, it's quite clear that when we work with companies to supply our different Carbiotix ingredients, that we want to also work with them to find the most optimal ingredient for them. So it's a customization process. And this is something that we'll be exploring with Aventure right now in 2 different product areas. And then they'll be utilizing our linked gut companion diagnostic infrastructure to assist in different studies and things like that. This is actually the area that I'll be working with primarily going forward as well as a working chairman in the company or proposed chairman, where I'll be focusing on primarily 3 different customer groups. So probiotics companies, nutraceutical companies, and then obviously cosmetic companies as second alternative application of the Carbiotix product. And I'll be working in conjunction with the new board members coming in to really push opportunities in that space based upon this model of working alongside of our partners or customers in this case, such as the agreement with Aventure. So customizing the products to make them optimized for the stimulation or production of these short-chain fatty acids.
Okay, thank you. And let's move over to the financials. Right after the period, the 4th of April, you communicated a loan of 4 million Swedish kronor. And yesterday you communicated at the annual general meeting, you decided to carry out an issue of units consisting of shares and free warrants that is at full subscription will bring in 12 million Swedish kronor to the company. Can you walk us through your financial plans?
Yeah, certainly. I think first of all, the 4 million loan was to fill a gap that would have been provided if the 2022 rights issue was fully subscribed. So that's something that we had planned for quite a while and knew that would be coming down the pipeline as well. So that was definitely not a surprise for us. In terms of the 12 million and the technical option, so the TO2, in connection with that, if that's fully subscribed, the idea is that provides financing for all of 2023 and 2024. There will also be a re-rating on the TO1, the technology option 1, after the subscription period. So that may come into play as well, depending upon obviously developments between now and then. And that has an exercise period, I think, of between June and July, and the TO2 during the month of October. What's probably also important to point out is my commitment in the process. I think I've earmarked or committed to roughly $2.5 million, so roughly 20% of the entire raise as well. And obviously, given the current share price, it's certainly at a discount compared to what I purchased shares in the company previously as well. So you can read into that as you wish in terms of my faith in things going forward, but I'm certainly committed to this next rights issue.
And this rights issue, does it mean to existing shareholders?
Obviously, there'll be a dilution if there's not a participation in the rights issue of roughly 30%. But yeah, investors can certainly read into my commitment and my interest to invest in the company at the proposed share price of, I think it's 1.88 crowns per share.
Yeah, thank you. At the same time, you communicated new goals for the years 23 through 25. Could you walk us through the most important parts of these goals?
Yeah, obviously, getting the second-gen process up and running, and things are moving very well in connection with that, so I'm very happy about that. Getting the regs in place, both with regards to nutraceutical products, so the launch of that product in the United States, but as I said earlier, equally as important, getting approvals for the cosmetic, which is essentially a self-affirmation for global production and global sales. And we can actually ramp up production in Sweden for global sales, which is quite encouraging. And obviously, we'll move forward with novel foods, which is going to allow us to get our product to market as a nutraceutical and eventually food and beverage ingredient in Europe, and that will make strides there. Getting samples out to as many companies as possible and building up that funnel is critical, and you'll see a lot of development work. As I said, I'll be focusing on those three primary customer groups, so probiotics companies, which may allow us to 10x our potential total addressable market, nutraceutical companies and cosmetic companies. So that'll be with the focus there. Building out link guts. Partners/customers as well. That's going to be a focus as well, and then introducing that synergy between the Carbiotix customers and the link gut service as well. Completion of the metformin study is something that is slated for Q2, and then now we have definitely a green light to move forward with a more ambitious application to get funding for several hundred patients. And there we'll be building up a consortium with different companies along the supply chain. So we'll see which companies we bring into that mix as well. So that's definitely encouraging news with regard to our ability to apply for this further financing, which should exceed 2 million euros.
All right. Great news, and we're really looking forward in following those up. That was all my questions for you today, Kristofer. Thank you so much for participating.
Thank you, Matthias. Pleasure to be with you.